second action item, ZF 2018-0078, the Teichert Schiffler Mining and Reclamation Project, or Schiffler, I guess it is, Mining and Reclamation Project. Which is
Okay, and warning, I'm bringing a PowerPoint up, so it's
Thank you.
And Heidi Chuden is going to do the presentation for this.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I also am having internet issues, so while I talk, I'm going to go ahead and kill my video, but I'll come back on afterwards. It'll help me have a little bit stronger signal if you don't mind. So thank you, committee members. My name is Heidi Chuden. I'm a contract planner for the county, representing the Natural Resources Division this evening. And with me tonight is Casey Liebler, the County Natural Resources Planner. I believe we also have Jeff Anderson, who is Senior Planner with the Planning Division. And then also Jason Smith, representing Teichert Materials, who is the applicant, is also here. And he has with him several consultants to assist if you have any questions this evening. Next slide, please. The purpose tonight is to present this project to your commission and to get a recommendation on the project for consideration by the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors. I'll explain in more detail. This item is before your committee because it involves the Teichert Esparto mining and reclamation operation, which lies within your geographic area of review. And it also includes a proposal by Teichert to do some in-channel maintenance excavation in a segment of the creek that starts at County Road 87 near the town of Esparto, and I'll give you some more explanation of that. Next slide, please. So this slide has a lot of information on it. I'm going to be walking through it, but basically these are all of the basic project features. And using the next few exhibits, I'm going to walk through each of these bullets. So I'm going to go ahead and call for the next slide. Terrific. This slide gives you an overview of where mining along Cache Creek is currently taking place. The blue that you see sort of on the left side there is the Teichert Esparto site. And the purple and pink on the right side, those are Teichert's woodland properties. And we'll be talking more about those this evening. Next slide. So the project site is located 3 miles west of the city of Woodland in an unincorporated portion of the county. You can see the Schiffler site sort of in the mid slide there down on the bottom. It's bounded by Cache Creek to the north, County Road 94B to the west, and County Road 22 to the south. It's located west of the Wild Wings subdivision and the recently mined Stores property, which is under reclamation, and generally south of the Woodland plant site that's shown there with the words plant site. Mining is also underway north of the plant site at the Schwartzgruber property. The other properties shown on here, the Muller, Haller, Stores, and Coors properties are all in various stages of reclamation. Next slide. The Schiffler property owns 442 acres that are shown here outlined in black. Portions of the property, about 123 acres, that lie in the channel on the north side there and on Monument Hill on the bottom are not a part of the application. It's the remaining 319 acres that are shown in yellow that comprise the project site. Next slide. This is the mining plan. Mining is proposed on 264 acres shown here in the red outline. Other related uses will occur on the remaining 55 acres, things like setbacks, visual screening, berms, conveyors, access roads. The Moore Canal is also included in that additional acreage. The applicant is proposing to mine just over 35 million tons of aggregate resources, which is basically sand and gravel, over a requested 30-year period at an annual rate not to exceed a maximum of 2.6 million tons per year. And that includes something we call the 20% exceedance, which I'll explain in just a moment. Teichert proposes to transfer to the Schiffler site the base tonnage of 1.2 million tons that's currently allocated to the Schwarzgruber site and the base tonnage of 1.2 million tons currently allocated to the to the Teichert Esparto site. So in effect, allowing them to double their activity here at the Woodland plant. They also propose to use this option called the 20% exceedance, which is an approval that the county can give and has previously given them for the Schwarzgruber site that allows them to exceed their base tonnage by up to 20% in any given year, as long as the running 10-year average doesn't exceed the maximum approved base allocation. So the transfer of tonnage from the two existing operations, again, that's the Teichert Esparto operation and the Schwarzgruber, would occur only when mining has ended at those locations. So the Esparto site would be reclaimed, the Esparto plant would be permanently closed and dismantled. And in fact, the Esparto plant is a newer operation, so components of the Esparto plant are proposed eventually to be used at the Woodland plant to improve operations there. And it's that involvement of the Esparto operations that's one of the reasons why this item is on your agenda this evening. The applicant proposes to mine to depths of 40 to 110 feet below the ground surface, which will enable them to excavate the full aggregate resource while minimizing the amount of surface area disturbance. The applicants also requested to mine within the streamway influence zone, which is allowed when engineering analysis demonstrates that it's acceptable to do so. That zone includes the area within 700 feet of the creek. So the creek is shown up here in the blue line, the blue dashed line at the top of the screen. And under certain circumstances in the Cache Creek Area Plan, which is the county's mining program, an operator can mine to within 200 feet of the creek. In this case, the EIR recommended going no closer than 250 feet. That's why you can see that 250 feet marked off at the top there between the blue line, which is basically Cache Creek, and the closest mining, which is that red dotted area for phase A. Next slide. The EIR also identified some required bank reinforcement shown in the pink area here, and habitat enhancement improvements shown in the green. Both of these would be immediately north of the mining area. And those two things will require preparation and implementation of a stream bank stabilization plan and also issuance of a flood hazard development permit, both of which get reviewed by the Cache Creek Technical Advisory Committee and then require approval by the county. The applicant will process the aggregate that they extract from the Schiffler site at their Woodland plant, which is immediately adjacent to the site, to the project site on the north and on the east. That plant has been operating at that location since the mid-1950s. Next slide. So this shows the Schiffler project and the Woodland plant site kind of in cartoon style. And this also shows you the haul routes. The operator is requesting the same haul routes that have been in use for several decades, which is basically east on County Road 20 to County Road 98, which is also State Route 16, and then north onto I-5. And then also they can go south on County Road 96 from County Road 20, connecting to State Route 16, and that would take them west onto I-505. The operator is also requesting the same hours of operation that have been in place for several decades, which are basically 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, plus 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Saturday for mining only. The plant is closed on Saturdays. And then during the week, during the months of August through October, they operate 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. on weekdays and 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. on weekends. Their current approvals also allow them to have occasional 24-hour operations to fulfill contracts. And they're always required to comply with the mining noise regulations at all times. So that applies to all their hours of operation. The EIR also adds restrictions on operations in proximity to some homes that are around the boundaries of this property in order to ensure compliance with the noise ordinance. Next slide. This is the reclamation plan. The applicant proposes to reclaim the 264 acre mining area, which is shown here in orange, to 113 acres of agriculture, 91 acres of open lake, just under 25 acres of riparian habitat around the lake frontage, just under 33 acres in grassland slopes, and 2.5 acres in access roads. And the reclamation would be finished about 2 years after the mining ends. Next slide. The Cache Creek Area Plan, which I mentioned is basically the county's mining program, contemplates that mining operators and the county will enter into development agreements, which are basically contracts, to, among other things, identify special public benefits that we refer to as net gains that are offered as a part of each mining project. So this slide summarizes the development agreement public benefit items that are proposed by Teichert for this application. And I'll walk through several of these using the next two exhibits. Next slide, please. One of the net gain items is that the applicant proposes to undertake in-channel maintenance in the form of bar skimming in the area shown here between County Road 87 on the left and I-505 on the right. And you can see the Teichert Esparto operation at the top of the slide here, right under the figure title. This activity is anticipated in the Cache Creek Area Plan to help prevent further channel bank erosion, provide capacity for Cache Creek, realign the low flow channel, and remove invasive species. The project would take place over a 5-year period, following all the standards and regulations that are in the Cache Creek Area Plan and in compliance with conditions of approval that are contained in a number of general permits that have been issued to the county by various state and federal agencies that allow for in-channel work of this type. This work would require a stream bank stabilization plan and a flood hazard development permit, both of which would be reviewed, as I noted, by the Technical Advisory Committee and approved by the county. Next slide. So this slide describes a few other components of the net gain package, and to orient you, just about dead center in the slide, you can see the woodland plant site marked. And down below, sort of at the bottom of the slide, you'll see a blue square. That's the middle of the Schiffler property, and that's actually where the lake would be. So part of the net gains package would be a donation of the Schiffler Lake after reclamation to be part of the county's emerging parkway. That's shown in the navy blue at the bottom of the screen. Excuse me. The Schiffler in-channel property, which is shown in the purple there, that's about 123 acres that would also be dedicated. And the Schwartzgruber property, which is shown in kind of a turquoise green color in the top right. As part of the package, there's also some cash donations to the Nature Preserve headquarters building that's being built and to the Parkway Plan, which gets updated from time to time, and would also include safe pedestrian crossing of County Road 94B, which will be part of a key trail connection. Continued identification of the woodland plant site as a sales tax place of sale, and also early dedication of the Teichert in-channel Haller-Muller property, which is shown in the lighter blue within 1 year of project approval. There's also a couple other items, but that kind of hits the biggies. Next slide. The Cache Creek Area Plan was adopted in 1996 and substantially updated in 2019. It's a pretty rigorous program that contains all the plans, policies, and regulations that govern mining in Yolo County and provide guidance on where mining can take place, including how much, how long, and to what end uses. It also establishes the framework for the Cache Creek Parkway, which is being stitched together over time, primarily from dedications of reclaimed lands. A quick recap on their other properties. The Teichert Woodland operation was approved in 1996. All the mining there is completed. Reclamation is underway. And the tonnage that was allocated to that operation was previously transferred to the Schwarzgruber property. The Schwarzgruber property was approved in 2012. Mining at that site is very close to being complete. Reclamation there is approved to Habitat. Part of that, or all of that tonnage, would be transferred, or is proposed to be transferred, from the Schwarzgruber site to the Schiffler site. And then the Teichert Esparto operation was approved in 1996. Mining there is also close to completion. Reclamation there is approved to lake, habitat, and open space. And that tonnage as well is proposed to be transferred when mining ceases to the Schiffler project. The Schiffler application was submitted in September of 2018. It included as a part of the project relocation of the Moore Canal, where you saw it cutting across kind of the middle of the site. However, in April of 2021, so April of this year, the Board of Directors for the Flood Control District voted to retain that canal in its existing alignment. And so as a result of that, the proposed project, which would have relocated that canal to the north or south, was no longer feasible. So the applicant at that time requested to change the project to one of the alternatives that have been studied in the EIR called the Moore Canal Avoidance Alternative. And it's that version of the project with the canal avoided, in other words, left in place, that's moving forward for approval at this time. And so that's the version of it that I showed you the mining and reclamation plans for. Next slide. The draft EIR for the project was released in December of 2020. The final EIR was just released last Friday. And for the Moore Canal Avoidance Alternative, which is what would be the project now, the draft EIR identified 12 impacts as significant. And with 4 exceptions, all of those areas of impacts would be fully mitigated by various measures identified in the EIR, all of which would become conditions of approval for the project if it is approved. The remaining impacts, which were loss of farmland at the project and cumulative level, and increases in vehicle miles traveled at the project and regional level, were identified as remaining significant and unavoidable because even with available mitigation, there was still an identified impact. The county received 38 letters commenting on the draft EIR. A majority of those, in fact, 32 of the 38, were from residents of the Wild Wing subdivision that adjoins the site and from some other residents in the surrounding area. The comments raised a variety of issues, and in the final EIR, the county provided a specific response to all of the comments. Many of the comment letters, especially those from the nearby residents, raised similar concerns. And so the final EIR had, in addition to the individual comments, 5 what we call detailed master responses for those common issues that were raised. So one of the master responses was regarding opinions that were expressed from different residents regarding the merits of the project. One of the master responses dealt with property value considerations that were raised. One of them dealt with traffic and circulation concerns that were raised. The 4th dealt with hydrology and water quality concerns. And then the last master response dealt with agricultural concerns. In the interest of time, I won't go into details on those right now, but if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. Next slide. This slide summarizes the approvals that would be required for the project. The general plan amendment is necessary to add the mineral resource overlay, which denotes the presence of mineral resources and is required to allow mining. And the rezoning is necessary to add the sand and gravel overlay, to the existing agricultural zoning, which is also a requirement of the county in order to allow mining. The staff recommendation on this project is still being formulated. As a part of the report for the Planning Commission, we'll be drafting detailed conditions of approval, reflecting all the standard requirements of the mining program, all of the EIR mitigation measures, and any other conditions that emerge from comments from committees like yours or from the staff review of the merits of the project. Tonight, we're seeking a recommendation from your committee that would go to the Planning Commission and the board regarding whether or not to approve this project. Next slide. The next steps beyond this evening include a community meeting for residents adjoining the site, which will be held Monday, October 25th. That particular meeting was actually originally scheduled for tomorrow night, but it turned out it conflicted with another meeting that many of the residents of that area were going to. So it was moved today to the 25th of October. And then the Planning Commission meeting is scheduled for November 10th, and the Board of Supervisors is scheduled for November 7th. That concludes my report. Staff, the applicant, and the consultant team are all available if you have questions. JD, if you wouldn't mind taking the slides down, that would be great. And I appreciate your patience. Thank you very much.
Questions here?
Yeah, I've got one question, if I may. This is Jack. The in-channel, what was it called? The in-channel.
It's basically a bar skimming.
Bar skimming, that, thank you.
Yeah.
The in-channel bar skimming, and that's in the Esparto area, right?
Yeah.
How is that going to work with or not, I guess, with the OHV traffic through there?
For me, what is bar skimming? I'm even farther behind than Jack.
Well, so bar skimming refers to removing built up areas where the creek naturally lays down sands and gravels. Part of the county's gravel program over time is to encourage those types of projects so that the creek stays within its channel boundaries and is able to pass flood flows when it needs to, and to help avoid erosion that sometimes takes out big chunks of agricultural land and the like. Some time ago, back in the 90s and before, the mining operators were allowed to mine in the creek. But in 1996, when the county adopted the current program, those rights to do commercial mining in the creek were traded, if you will, for off-channel mining because it was less impactful on the environment. But with a creek like Cache Creek, you still have to do maintenance, if you want to call it that, to keep the creek so that it can operate within its banks. So the county works with property owners to do that, but occasionally there'll be an opportunity to do a larger project like this, which is why it's identified here as a public benefit item. And Jack, I got so enthusiastic answering that other question that I think I forgot yours. I'm sorry.
No, I actually appreciate that because I had no clue either about the bar skimming. I guess that probably is something like that. I'm imagining a tractor implement, but anyway, so how is that going to be in conflict with the OHV traffic that's in that area? Or how do you work with that?
Well, I might ask so Jason Smith here is with Teichert, and he could speak to how an in-channel activity like that is coordinated with other uses within the creek. But I believe also, Casey, are you able to, or Jeff, I guess, is on. So both Casey and Jeff have been involved separately with efforts by the county to look at more of a long-term solution to off-highway vehicle use because it's somewhat problematic in the creek. So I'd also invite either of them to help with this question, Jack. So I'm going to pitch it to maybe a couple other people, if you don't mind.
Jason, do you want to start first with sort of the operational aspects of such a project?
Yeah, I'll go, Casey. Can you hear me okay?
We can, yeah.
Yes.
All right, just getting my video here so everyone can see me. Yeah, obviously, you know, if we're doing any gravel bar skimming or any work in the channel, that would be in the way of any OHVs that we're driving in the channel. So we would have to make sure that we have the area that we'd be working secure to keep everybody safe.
Just gonna make a smoother course for them when they go ripping through the creek.
Well, no, that would actually be the, no, that would not be the intent. The intent would be to remove the gravel bars that are in the way and causing some issues and putting in, it would include a lot of reclamation work and restoration work, adding habitat that would have to be kind of protected to make sure that the creek functions as it should.
That's the habitat. I don't think they need some critters that are immune to noise and dust.
Well, I know the county's working hard on OHV issues in general, so I don't want to get too far into answering for the county's ongoing OHV plans.
Thanks, Jason. Jeff or Casey, are either of you able to speak on where we are on the OHV issue?
I do know that next Tuesday, the 26th, the Parks Department will be having a presentation and update to the board on the county's search for a more permanent location for an OHV park. The Natural Resources Division wasn't taking the lead on that. That's the division I work in. The Parks Division was. So that's all. I just know enough about it to be able to share that information. But I think as Jason said, you know, in-channel restoration that the Cache Creek Area Plan program, you know, wants to achieve and promotes, OHV use in the creek is, you know, a direct conflict of that when you have riders going through and, you know, destroying restoration sites. So that's sort of where the Natural Resources Division comes in, is this recreational use is incompatible with the goals and actions of the Cache Creek Area Plan. And, you know, that's sort of the struggle that we've been dealing with over the past several decades.
Thanks. I forgot to ask, I guess, what is the timing of the bar skimming? I forgot to note that down from the presentation. Is that in the next few years or longer?
Jason, you want to take that one?
Yeah, you know, I would be happy to take that one. So that one, there's some moving parts that have to be resolved. So first, we kind of have to get through this approval process, and then we move on to the next phase, which involves working with some different agencies to ensure those programmatic permits that Heidi mentioned are obtained. Also, we'd have to work with the adjacent property owners to make sure that we're all working together and on the same page. So it's something that likely wouldn't happen in this coming year, but there would be a lot of groundwork going into getting that set up in the next year, so we could start, you know, in a couple of years from now. But ideally, sooner the better, because I think that's a really good project opportunity there.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm familiar with the OHV plans right now, and I think that it's not really looking at Cache Creek as being the OHV park in the future. Right. So that makes sense. I guess my concern is as a frequent user of the Cape Bay Open Space Park and seeing already there's enough ATVs going that way when they shouldn't be, I'm concerned that this bar skimming would maybe, I haven't been down there OHV myself, but it seems like that's the direction that most of them go, that now they'd be more likely to try and ride around over towards Cape Bay and cause problems there. So that's just a concern that I mentioned with that.
Susan, did you have something you wanted to ask? Unmute yourself, Susan. We can't hear you.
Susan, you've got you need to unmute yourself. We're not able to hear you.
Okay, so one of the projects you said you had that was nearly done was a Teichert one. As I said, there was a lot in your presentation to take in, and a lot of terms that I'm certainly not familiar with. So which Teichert property is almost finished with their mining?
Actually, all of them that are currently approved.
Okay, so the one in Esparto by the open space park that Jack just mentioned, that's going to be finished soon?
Yes.
So they
Well,
will
I
be,
think there's an important clarification, sorry, if you will, the operation that is directly adjacent to the KP Open Space Park, that's the Granite KP operation,
Okay.
so it's a different owner.
Oh, I didn't
the-
realize what you were asking. Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay,
I thought you
alright.
were referring to the Teichert Esparto.
okay, so that
Yeah,
one's
the-
further along. Okay, I was
Yeah.
just wondering, you know, if all of this area was going to connect up with walking paths and that kind of thing.
Eventually,
That's
that is part of the plan to
Okay.
connect everything, but it will happen at different times as mining proceeds at its pace for each of the operators.
Mhm.
So I appreciate Casey's clarification because I misunderstood your
Okay.
question. The
All right.
closest mining to the to the open space park is a different operator.
Okay. Sounds, all right.
I think we'd go up to the bridge, basically, the County Road 87 bridge.
John, I can hardly hear you. You'll have to speak up.
I'm sorry, but I'm gonna pick my microphone up. I think this project goes about to the County Road 87 bridge, you know,
Okay.
south of the convenience.
I can ask JD to put up the regional map again to give you an idea. JD, could you possibly put up slide 4?
That wasn't the one we were looking for, unfortunately.
I think he's working on it there.
Yeah, sorry, too many screens going on here. Let's see. I'm gonna do that one, share it. I was trying to zoom to that page, but I have to get on the,
There you go. And then slide 4, if you could.
find my control. Oh, here we go. Nope. There we go.
There, that's perfect. So JD, are you able to point with your cursor to County Road 87 there adjoining the green? If I can see properly. Yep, right there. And so Teichert Esparto is the blue. And the KP Open Space Park is much further over to County Road 85, just below the corner of the yellow. Right, yep, right there. And we can leave this slide up if you like, or if there's more questions, we can go ahead and take it down. If there's any other questions about location, it might be useful. I could point them out if you have any right now.
JD, can you put slide 12 up there? There we go. The bar skimming area, the extreme left there, that road running north by the number 14, that's the County Road 87.
That's correct.
And out there, 20, whatever it is the convenience center, basically.
So at the top of this slide, underneath the figure title is where the Granite Esparto property is. You can kind of see the outline there of the mining.
Teichert Esparto, Heidi, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Granite Esparto, Teichert Esparto, they should have came up with different names.
Yeah, Teichert Esparto. The other mining that you can see on this slide is it's south of the creek. Can you show them where Sire is, JD? So yes, right there. Perfect. So that's another operator.
I was kind of curious. We haven't heard anything about them. What are they doing? Are they hauling now, or are they just waiting for things to change?
They're actually in an idle status. They're not currently mining, and they haven't been for some time. I'm not sure I fully appreciate the business decision behind that, but they've been in what's called an idle status, which is allowed under the mining codes. And they just recently went before the Planning Commission to get their last 5-year extension of that idle status. So hopefully they'll begin mining again soon.
I'm just curious. I didn't have any real dog in that fight. I was just kind of curious.
Sure. Thank you, JD. I think you can take the slides down again now. So I'm happy to answer other questions, and also Jason and some of his folks are here if you have questions, and we would like to, at an appropriate time, ask your committee for a recommendation that I can take forward to the Planning Commission.
Heidi, would it be possible for us to get these slides electronically, and then we can send it out with our minutes?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So Casey, do you know how to get them to Jack? Or I guess we could just do that through JD, right?
Yeah, I could send a final slide deck as a PDF to JD and Evelyn, just so the planning department.
When do you
those.
need those, Jack? Do you need them right away?
No, I'll need them a week before our next meeting, which would be
Oh, we can
week
get them
before
in
the
the
13th.
next, yeah,
Yep.
we can get them in the next day or two.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions here? Okay, Susan, get your off mute.
Okay, I have one. You talked about them moving things around. I don't know what you meant by that. Do you mean you're moving product to different places?
No, let me explain that. I appreciate that the question. I think what you're asking about, so right now at the Teichert Esparto site, they have an approval to mine 1.2 million tons a year.
Yeah.
And at the Schwarzgruber site, they also have an approval to mine 1.2 million tons a year. And we call those the allocations, basically. They've been allocated a certain amount of mining under the program. And what they're proposing to do as they finish mining at both of those sites, they're requesting the county transfer that allocation, so think of it like an approval, to the new site.
Okay.
So that allows them to mine up to that amount at the new site if the county approves that request.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, I guess for my, well, Randy, go ahead. You were going to say something.
Okay. Well, I was just going to ask about the general landscape of the Schiffler site, which is, basically behind the Monument Hill Cemetery. I'm very familiar with that. And it's basically farmland over towards the creek. So that is going to basically get converted all into a mining site that eventually will be converted in reclamation to a lake. Is that correct?
For the most part. So if you think of the property in like 4 parts, that lake will be in the middle of the lower part, but there will also be land returned to agriculture on either side of it. And the mining area above the lake will also be returned to agriculture at the end. So a combination.
Okay, but that's over a 30-year span. That okay.
Yeah, as part of the county's program, the county has never allowed approvals longer than 30 years for mining.
Okay, and it's all surface mining.
Yes.
Okay, because when you was given the presentation, I was kind of confused about that because you had mentioned something about not disturbing the surface.
I think I might have said minimizing the amount of surface disturbance.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You bet.
From my standpoint out here, if the Teichert or the Teichert Esparto plant was contributing anything to the community of Esparto in the way of money, based on tonnage, I'd be concerned. But since it's all going to the county and we're not seeing any of it, I don't have quite that concern. It's like, it's nice that we get some reclamation work done on the creek. It's about, the best thing I can say about this. if I lived over closer to that, closer to the Teichert Woodland plant, I guess I'd be concerned about the increase in trucks going through there, because you're going to basically double the amount of material they can move out of there. But that's not my concern. We'll leave that to the good people at Wild Wings and the areas to the east.
I used to live on Road 20, which is one of the routes out of Teichert, and at the time that I lived there, Schwarzgruber. And during the day, empty gravel trucks going down that road is very noisy. You know, that road, it's a rough road. And I don't think that road is actually designed to carry the loaded traffic that it carries. And the same is true for Road 96. You know, they're very old roads, and of course the county hasn't been maintaining them, and the county hasn't been properly maintaining them in probably my entire lifetime. You know, they'll go in there and they'll do a slurry coat on it to rejuvenate the surface, but they've never, you know, redone the road base and, you know, started from scratch and made it into a proper road. So, you know, that is something that, you know, I would be concerned with is, you know, doubling the amount of traffic that's going over already inadequate roads is, you know, going to be problematic. And that's something that the county should be addressing, and maybe, you know, Teichert should be working with the county to address those two roads for, you know, egress and.
No, that's a great point. Is it Randy or Randall?
Yes, Randy.
Okay, Randy, that's a great point. So the EIR does look at that issue, but even separate from the EIR, the program requires Teichert to take care of their assigned haul routes. Each of the operators has to take care of both maintenance and physical improvements on their haul routes, and that's coordinated through the Public Works Department. We don't have a representative of Public Works here tonight, but basically they are required to do the types of things that you just described for the very reason that you described it. And that's a program that's been improving over time and is a requirement. Jason might be able to say better than me what recent improvements they've done to 20 and 96. Are you able to say off the top of your head, Jason, what's recently been done out there?
Yeah, of those two roads, County Road 96 is the newer of the two paved roads. Each year we do an annual inspection by a licensed engineer that walks the entire section of the road to determine the pavement condition index. And we're required to maintain a pavement index, condition index of at least 70, which is a pretty high number, and I would say higher than most of the other roads in the county. So on an annual basis, we're doing some regular maintenance to ensure that those roads stay above 70. And in the event that they fall below 70 and cannot be repaired, then we repave. So I don't have the year that the roads have been fully repaved most recently, but I know that 96 was is more recent than 20. And we keep them at that 70 PCI as indicated.
Thanks, Jason.
Anybody else have any questions, comments here? We could ask Sandy Reed. Welcome back, Sandy. I don't know, are you living in the area now, or are you really remote? Okay.
Yeah, I moved back into Esparto and living in the city. So hello, everybody. It's so nice to be here.
Yeah, welcome back.
Thank you.
So, okay, are we ready then to make a recommendation? Do we have or do we have more questions?
I think I think we're ready to make a motion, at least I am, but I would caution us to keep it to our region's impact and let the other jurisdiction deal with most of the impacts, of course. I'll make a motion to recommend approval of the project as it pertains to impacts in the Esparto area.
Okay. Motion's on the table. Is a second? Can we get a second for the motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, Randy seconds it. Any comments anybody wants to make on it? Pat, you're down there. I see your block. Okay, I guess not hearing any.
There? Oh, did I do it?
I can hear you now.
Okay. The main thing I'm worried about as usual is the noise. And in the summer, the plants actually do start up around 3 in the morning, sometimes 6 if they want to sleep in a little bit. But the 3 o'clock noise is a little a little too much some mornings. So that could be kind of watched. I don't know. It's hard when they're trying to get things done. I appreciate that. So, but I also like my sleep. So, thank
Right
you.
now, we've got a motion out here in cyberspace that would approve this as far as the Esparto area impacts are concerned. So I guess we got a motion and a second. I have to say, take a vote, I guess. All in favor? I am.
Hi.
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Hearing no opposition, I guess it's approved.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I know that took a large part of your agenda. Thank you for your time.
It was
Bye,
a
everybody.
good presentation.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, Heidi.
Give a wave.
They're going
Thanks,
away.
everyone.
Bye.